your honest, no BS, non salesy conversation about enterprise data management, presented by Data.World, coming to you live from Big Data London in London at the Olympia. And we're very excited to have a special guest today. We'll introduce him in just a second. Juan, my co-host, Tim Gasper, also here. Juan,
how you doing?
I'm very excited. This has been a great day.
Finally, we got the famous, infamous Chris Tabb. The co-founder of LEIT, don't like to say LEIT Data, but most importantly, the Mean Data Streets, the LinkedIn Mean Data Streets.
This is a high level, high passion day today. It's great to be here with you two guys. I think I first gate crashed one of your shows you're doing with Joe the last 15 minutes.
I remember, yes.
And I remember when I was watching you on there, thinking, this guy goes as fast as me and talks as ranty as I do. So
data rants are encouraged.
Yeah. I'm going to try and get to the level, but we're trying now.
All right, let's kick off. So tell us, so what are we drinking? What are we toasting for?
We're toasting to Big Data London for a big success and for the high performance data debate that starts at 6 p.m. within Big Data London in the theatre called the Decision Analytics Theatre. Decisions.
Yeah. So it is. We're live. It's 4 p.m. UK time right now. We usually use 4 p.m. Central time, but so this get all coordinated. After this, we're going to your panel. I'm going to be on one of those panels. But all right, so look, cheers to Big Data London. Cheers. This is a very packed event.
It is. It's epic event.
All right, so
one more
question. So Mean Data Streets, So what's the meanest street you've been on?
I'd say it was the old Microsoft Mean Data Streets of DTS.
DTS.
That's where, if anyone knows, this goes back. It predates SSIS. So, but I suppose jokes aside, that's what a technology mean data streets. I suppose where the mean data streets were born, and the term, I suppose it came from another LinkedIn rant sometime where people were talking about how tough things are and this not working and why is it so complex and why have we got so many moving parts to create the modern data stack. And I thought, modern data stack, mean data streets. Yeah, so the mean data streets were born. I've walked many mean streets in my life. Not all of them mean data. But I suppose
I didn't fully realize the acronym was meant to align.
Yeah, I just realized right now, MDS.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking we're in the business data stack now. So we're in the BDS era. So I think I did a post about this a little while ago where
the bullshit data streets.
Yeah. I see we're on the no BS, honest no BS one. Yeah, not a bad term for it. And I think the prehistoric data streets were back in the days. The modern, well, you go how that's the beginning of that. But yeah, maybe the days where Netezza, Teradata ruled the streets. But you don't hear much of them. Well, Netezza acquired by IBM years ago.
Mm-hmm. But Teradata,
are they here? No,
I don't know if they're here. They're around.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Have you been on any mean streets?
Mean data streets? I don't know about mean data streets. They've been pretty nice to me. But you know what? I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. We've got some mean streets in Cleveland, Ohio.
and I grew up in Columbia.
Oh, well, okay.
I can think about some mean streets in Columbia.
Yeah, no, I think the streets I grew up in Bracknell are not quite as mean as that.
All right, well, let's kick it off. All right, let's keep it very simple. Honest, no BS. What do you mean by business value here for this data, folks?
Mm-hmm. So, and I did a post about this recently. Is it an overused term? Everyone starts talking about value, and the work I've been doing with Matt Housley, we've been trying to break down just that term business value and trying to articulate that into one sentence. And we've done a few iterations of that, and the current iteration is business value is a evidenceable positive impact on your business performance or your company performance. And we've had a few. Is it all about profit? And I don't think it is. I think when we're doing the work on this, not everything can be directly attributed to profit. And I suppose there's a time dimension to it as well, because if it's intraday, within a year, you're looking at adding business value within a financial year. That's what your CFO is going to want.
Right.
You take the probably extreme example of Uber. You know, Uber was operating 83 billion, I think, that run till it made started making a profit. So that's a long runway. And anyone out there that's been in the startup world, that's a lot of money to go and test a theory. So that was over 10, 12 years, I think. I can't remember the exact number, 12 years. So, I don't think anyone would have gone, right, I've got this really good idea. In 12 years, we're going to make you some money. And by the way, can I have some more? Can I have some more? Can I have some more on the journey?
It's pretty amazing how some companies can just kind of keep going without a profit for quite a while, right?
Yeah, and I suppose it's when I suppose it's like the money pit thing is once you've committed to it, you've got to make it work. Otherwise, you've got no other options. But obviously, they have made a profit now, and it is everyone knows who they are.
But that doesn't mean that data teams can go off and.
I think that's part of the thing is that those days are gone, and I don't think they went into that approach thinking it's going to take them that long. But I suppose it's what mode that's the term we think is business value. Then there's what business value mode your company is in.
Oh.
And if you think of, I mentioned earlier, your CFO wants to see some gain, some value within that financial year. So you're in a fiscal mode. It has to be within that one. If you've got someone that's looking forward thinking, they've got a strategy of getting a better market share, 4 or 5 years, you're in growth mode. And the third mode we've named is a hybrid. So it's where you're using optimization, so cost savings, to fuel or either pay for entirely or contribute towards some growth activities. So, as with any planning activity, people throw money at it, you can keep doing it. But if you have some controls and make sure that we're not just we're gonna look to see a balanced approach of where we can save some money, so to help with fueling any growth strategy.
So I like these kind of 3 modes that you're talking about here. I imagine the hybrid mode is going to be some mixing and matching between sort of the first 2 modes. So maybe let's focus on those 2 modes a little bit: fiscal mode, growth mode. So maybe fiscal mode. That's the first one you mentioned. What would be some examples of evidentiable positive impact when you're in fiscal mode?
And I think so. Some things, and it's all about the time that you can actually make change in your organisation. So I've got to think about competitive advantage, but this thing has some value to it as well.
Yeah.
But say, for example, you're in a very good organisation and you get new features out regularly. You've got opportunities to satisfy that fiscal mode scenario. So your CFO is going to say, right, this is the budget. I need to save some money. Otherwise, I'm going to shop that project that is going to be your future for next year. And you do that. You think, well, the business is not going to survive well out there. So you need to look at what you can do to with some quick wins. Those I hate the term, the low hanging fruit. And you look at, and I'll give you one example of onboarding process. So I like to use the term friction sometimes as well. Is that friction is the time, complexity, and effort to doing something. And if you're signing up to a new service or something like that, and you've got to fill in so many forms, you've got to then go and submit and wait to come back for a verification. That process, you'll get dropped off. In banks, you're going to have KYC checks as well, and depending on what people you use, how sophisticated they are, you may be refusing people that actually were good, or other way around. So you may be taking people on that actually were fortunate. So if you can target those 2 scenarios and optimize that within a financial year, you can decrease your conversion, decrease the cost of converting new clients or onboarding new clients. Those clients are going to come on board that year. They're going to add more money, more revenue within that financial year. So there's an example of fiscal. I think the growth one is we're probably living. Big data London is probably a good example of that. There's a lot of vendors out here, all in the same place. They don't have the luxury of just waiting to see if they can organically grow. There will be loss making for a while, and in the same way in your organisation, taking it out of the technology or product, it's all about getting customers, and if you're going to have to do some deals to go and get a larger market share, and even run at a loss for a little bit, or run at a maybe not a full loss, but it's subsidised. It's you're not making the margin that you would expect, or maybe your shareholders would even want at that point. But if you can get them on board, you've got a sticky product. That means that they're not going to go off anywhere else, and you now have got 4 or 5 years worth of a loyal customer. That all adds up. So in year 5, what you've been able to the profit you provide that one is going to be much more than if you've gone in a fiscal mode. So I think things that fall into that growth mode is building a data platform, building a data capability in the organisation. It costs a lot of money, and go back to that business value, or the term ROI that was used earlier as well, is sometimes it's very hard to justify that, and you need to build credibility. You need to provide evidenceable things you can relate to, and it may be for the first period of a company, that overhead, building that platform, getting that good data ops capability in place, getting a good data cataloging, or getting the business working well, streamlined with your data teams. That may take 6 to 9 months or 12 months to get it working really well. Hopefully, you may be able to do some things on the side that can keep the business happy and not just adding incremental value while you're on that journey. But sometimes it's not really possible to actually get it within that fiscal year. I think in the book, one of the Substack articles that should be out soon, we talk about it's that evidence piece as well, and the more. Some things you can't always evidence, and some things you're going to need to. You know that they're going to be needed in the long run to build up your data vision or data platform.
All right. So I got a couple things.
Yeah.
One is
have a drink ready.
Yeah, go drink. You got that was a lot. But we're taking notes. We're taking notes. So one thing on the fiscal mode, I think this is kind of like straightforward. Like, you got to make money, save money. How you can help them do that?
Yeah.
But one thing that I really take it away here is the friction. So I think is when you identify where that you should be looking for that friction and figure out that's energy. Those are people. Let's go figure out what's there, because maybe there's an opportunity to go help.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that was a really key thing that you said.
It's good. I mean, how I link that is to business processes now is because as soon you can't measure friction until you have a business process to hang it off.
This is something that is coming up a lot with the folks who are talking about. Is about let's go figure out our business processes, and the business processes. It's connected to everything. This is why I love crafts, right? Everything is connected, and then what goes into the processes, people, decision, all that stuff, data goes into these processes. That's why everything is connected. So fully agree. I think we need to get focused on that.
Yeah, and we're talking about, again, companies, and I tell you when I've seen business processes implemented and why I think it is a missing piece of the puzzle that I don't think companies have enough focus on. I've only ever seen them defined in large transformations where you need to go in there and you're merging, maybe a merger acquisition, or people have to understand it, because you have to work out how you're going to separate these two organisations or combine these two organisations, or where you can combine parts of the process and see where the best ones are. I've never seen any company ever maintain those processes after the event, and I'm sure I know there's been business process changes. They don't go and change it. So I do think there's we said data modeling got brought back to life. It got the CPR. It was dead for a while in the early days of the modern data stack. It's come back, and it's really good that's come back. I think that whole taking that modeling and what you talk about, the knowledge graphs and everything all being linked. It is all linked, and the easier we can collect that associated metadata, so we can actually look at how everything's all joined up. Your operational world and your analytics world sharing that same knowledge, bringing that all together, you're gonna have that competitive advantage I just mentioned earlier.
So I'm not saying it. You're saying it here that that having all this metadata, getting it connected, that's critical. That's critical for your operational efficiency within your organization.
I think again I always refer to posts often because that's how my brain farts of how I get things out. But I call it the metadata. I think you've commented on that as well. Is that we everyone knows understands data now and the benefits it can provide. I think it's now that educational piece of all of the data about the data and how that data about the data is used collectively together. There's so much value in that. We go back to business process optimization, fault detection before it's happening, impact assessment of changes happening. The more you've got things connected, the more you can be confident that if you're going to do a change, you're not going to break anything. Go back to that competitive advantage thing once again is if you're able to make a release every month, you're going to stay ahead of the game. You know, you're going to. And I have this thought. I chat to Craig quite a bit, where he's talking about how you can how you actually measure the associated value, and it is hard, you know, to do that.
So the other thing is that you brought up about like on the fiscal mode and the comparison with the growth mode is like when you brought up the growth mode, you're saying, oh, we need to go, for example, that's what we're going to invest to have a data capability organization. How would this work in the hybrid? Is like, well, you can have this, you can have like a push and pull. Like, well, I'm going to go do this very quick ad hoc. It doesn't scale, but it doesn't matter. I need to do this now. But then you're not investing in the data capability. So it's always like the balance of it, what I call efficiency resilience. What are your comments?
And so there's another view is that a salesperson, right, if they have 3 bad months or 2 bad months in a row, they're out the door. I think as a data team, a data department, you know, you can't wait. The CDO tenure time of how long they last, 18 months. The reason why is because they've been given that much time to not deliver what they said. So if you're in that hybrid mode and you need to be able to create that incremental value, you need to be able to have a good story at least every quarter. All right. So, and if to keep the stakeholders on board.
This is a really good point.
Yeah. So it may slow you down, and that may not be the most optimized path to get to your vision, but you're more likely to achieve it because you can keep the stakeholders on the journey. And so if you make sure there's some quick win, so there's something you've built that maybe it's deviated slightly off the I suppose the quickest route that you could have gone, but you've had that good story. Because if you wait for that good story, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, everyone's lost interest by then. You know,
this is an excellent point. So it's not like on one side I'm only going to do low-hanging fruit quick wins, or it doesn't mean I'm swinging the pendulum and only doing the hard things you need to invest in it. It's like, no, keep some quick wins and balance this out. Now, what is the percentage? Because when people are asking, what have you done for me recently? You're like, I can show you the quick wins. Better than showing nothing. Instead.
And it links back to this, the thing we were just chatting about a bit earlier. So that word evidence-more I used earlier. So if you take the legal use case or a legal world, so when you're going to take your legal case to them, you've got to have all the evidence. You've got to have a really good case to actually win that case. And there's different sort of levels of courts of law, and some will be a judge and a jury, and some will just be a civil case where it's the judge is actually this one person. He will make that, or he or she will make that decision. So you need to start building up good stories that get you to that big criminal case. You've got the judge, the CEO, you've got the CMO, you've got the CFO, you've got the CTO, you've got the CIO, you've got your risk officer as well, your revenue officer. You got the whole C-suite as your jury.
Who's the judge?
The CEO. So you need, if over that time you've had a number of small cases that you've won over the CRO, you did that for him. He loves you now. You then won over the CMO. She's really happy with what you did for her as well. She's great. And you won over the CTO because you helped with something. You've helped all of them at some point. When you go and put that business case forward, you obviously have to make it a good business case. But the jurors, you've got credibility. You've got reference cases. Because, as with case law 65 on this day here, when I delivered this capability for you, was it a success? Yes. Did I deliver it on budget? Yes. Have I got credibility now? Yes. Judge, will you sign off this project for the next 18 months for $5 million? Yes. But you'll never get that unless you've got all those things. And that may have taken you 18 months to get that credibility or get that that assurance that you are going to spend that money wisely. You are. I think you'll see CDOs in longer tenures. I think you'll see a CDO becoming 5 or 6 years because they are worth more. Well, they're adding. They've made a difference.
Yeah. I like this analogy a lot. I feel like it applies well to the sort of the politics that you have to play as you're trying to get your ideas through, right? And for those who are newer to the organization, don't have that credibility yet and things like that, you have to work that much harder to prove, hey, trust me, like this investment that I'm going to do, especially if you're in a hybrid situation and you're talking about some growth-oriented investment and activities that you want to do. You're asking people to go on a journey with you.
So thinking about who heads the data teams, the CDO and stuff, like, should they have a tech background or should they not have a tech background? They should be more from the business. And how would they, what background should the person have to be able to succeed if we follow this analogy? See, So, by the way, it's interesting. We've had many
best lawyer.
We've had many episodes where we take an analogy and we just keep banging on it. Let's see how far we go to this one.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm going to give you. It depends.
It's a hybrid.
No. And I'll go through what it depends. I'll give you two scenarios. So it's not quite a cop out, full cop out. It's half cop out.
Appreciate the honest, no BS.
Well, it's honest BS day. So let's keep it real. So the things it will depend on is the size of the organisation, maturity of the organisation, size of the team.
That's a very fair point.
So that's the thing. But any CDO out there, they need to have some technical capability, but they really need to be business focused. And the more I think about the role of the CDO, I don't think we've had the right CDOs or the right people.
Okay. Yes. This came up recently. Actually, I was at the CDO IQ conference, and this was the CDO of Visa. And he's non-technical. And he said, he's like, oh, everybody's talking about 18 months and whatever. And his point was I think we're hiring the wrong people.
I think so. I think having the word data in it, it may steer you down a particular route. But if I go back to that. The things we talk about actually achieving this, it's not, you need to know what maybe the components are. You need to have a good architect working there that's giving you that vision. You go, right, okay. Then you need to be mapping on how do I achieve each of those little steps with the guidance I've got, which is the right order to do these things in. The main thing is selling, marketing. You want to create that FOMO experience in your whole organisation. You go, I want what that team department got. I want what that department got. And I think this leads me on to the other thing that I might be jumping ahead on some things you're going to say so it's having creating that FOMO experience.
You're looking at our notes.
I was. So I don't think the business understand what the data team does. Okay, so and I did a post about this the other night. But if you went to the business and say, what does HR do? They manage the onboarding of our staff. Okay. And a bit more than that. Sorry if I upset the HR. But you have a good understanding of what they do.
They can give a crisp answer immediately. This is what we do.
Yeah, it's a clear finance. They do our accounts and the payroll. Sales. They sell our products. Marketing. They market our products. What do data team do? Oh, they run extracts and do some reports for us. No, that is not right. What the data team does is provide you the best opportunity with the use of data to make a positive impact on your business performance. They are there as a service to add that business value that we talked about, increase your business performance. They should be seen as a capability, not as a function that is just writing an extract and building a new dashboard.
So, what you just said, I agree. Now, wouldn't that fall into operations? So, what I'm driving towards is today, a lot of the CDOs that we see or data teams, they report to the CIO, the technology side, CIO, right?
Yeah.
Which is a cost center.
Yeah.
That's why they're not it's hard to make it close because it may make these cases for innovation doing things. Now, what if we started moving towards the operation? So it's we need to get data teams, CDOs should start reporting to the COOs.
I mean, the reporting lines, it always comes up, and it's. I think we have confused things like having a CIO, CTO, and a CDO, and I think organisations that have the whole lot, I'd love to see the roles and responsibilities between them all and actually understand, actually see that they're clearly no overlap. I've worked in situations where they have a CDAO because they can't decide, which one's doing, and then do they own the underlying technology that's on there, and it becomes very hard to understand what's in their remit and what's on their remit. Any advice out there of when you're sitting on phone, really map out what activities what ownership each of these people have, and then also when you define that, are you setting people up for failure? Maybe it's another reason. Why CDOs fail in 18 months? Because they've been set up to fail. They have not been given the ability to succeed or option to succeed because they don't get the budget for the technology. They don't get the budget for the teams on it. They're not in control of a cost center. And I think, I talked about that hybrid mode of you need to be seen, or the business value tax as well, or putting your socks on tax, is you need to take that money and own that and be responsible and accountable. I mean, that's the other.
This is the accountability.
You've got to have accountability for this stuff because it's not cheap signing up to all this stuff. So make sure you're getting your best bang for your buck. Going back to that selling rate, don't make sure you don't commit to large projects that you haven't proven it's going to work. I think it's that iterative way of providing value, but also an iterative way of building up your vision, your data product vision, your business value stack, or whatever you're going to call it, the business data stack, be accountable for it, and don't have an emotional attachment into decisions that are already there. We need to use this because we've already bought it.
Right.
Is it the right tool now?
Don't get caught up in sunk cost or what happened in the past. I like that you're kind of implying here that you give the CDO a massive agenda, and then if you don't give them the people of the budget, how could you expect them to be successful, right? I mean, of course, you're setting them up to leave in 18 months. I mean, beyond even potentially the skill mismatch. You mentioned the data team and how they're kind of, they're a service to help other groups to help achieve business performance.
Yeah.
In that sense, let's come back to our analogy that I'm hoping we can continue to extend here.
Yeah.
Is the data team not really the lawyers? Are they the paralegals that are just helping out?
Okay. I like it. Right. So you're the lawyer is your representative of the data team. So yeah, he's had his whole team of experts, a whole team of experts that are helping build up that business case. So I think in that lawyer, I'd like to think it's the CDO is that lawyer, okay. and then all the other ones, all the rest of the team are doing all the background, the research, verification, advisory as well. You need experts, and I suppose there will be your expert witnesses that you've spoken to that you'll wheel them up if you need to.
Interesting.
But you'll wheel them up at the right time.
So the expert witnesses are other people within the organization.
I think it's both. You're right, actually. I think the problem with using the expert witnesses from within your organisation, they can't go and they can become the expert witnesses if they have proved credibility and had delivered value previously. Then they're your reference cases. I think otherwise it's wheeling someone in for another organisation that's maybe a consultancy company. So someone that's coming and going, we've seen this. We can tell you, if you do these things, you'll have this impact. We've seen it before.
So these are external people outside the company.
The expert witness. So in the court case, you bring in the psychologist or something to say,
exactly.
Here's how the mind works and why the criminal might have thought
the
this.
sleep expert.
Right. So here's how governance works, and here's how you should actually do it. Right?
Yeah. Or the lip reading expert. Someone is an expert in a particular
the body
field.
language expert.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting. So two things I think I'm hearing here is one is that sometimes it's the data team providing the evidence and it's the business kind of advocating. Sometimes it's the data team advocating and the business is providing the evidence, right? So it's kind of a mix of things. But it feels like you're advocating for a pretty strong role
Yes.
for data teams around business value versus the flip side being kind of what I mentioned around the paralegals who were like, hey, like we're just managing the bits. Like, you know, you're the business, right?
Now, when you go back to the, you know, you've got forensic experts in that case of DNA evidence or footprint evidence, or even go back to the DEXA days of blood splatter. You know, sorry to say it's a bit dark, you know, but you know, there are experts in each of these areas that will be able to provide historical evidence from how they've done this before to prove and provide that capability. So I think your data team, external, because not everyone has to be. When I say the data team, it could be some external people you brought in as part of that data team. So it's the CDO's data function. You can brought some partners in, but you know, it is that you know, that full capability at its control. And I think the other thing we talk about business processes and the logging, the metadata. You need some experts in that to go and analyze that data to give you the results back of it, and you need to make sure that they're accurate. Because if you go stand up in that court of law and you go and present inaccurate information, you know, you could be struck off the bar, you know, or whatever, you know, in that legal terms, you know, you could be no longer have the credibility in that industry because you seem to be fraudulent or not delivered or don't have that credibility anymore. So
now, I'm excited we're going on this analogy. I was seeing how much we can take it further, but it seems like if we follow this analogy, it's like you're always in court. That's not really where I want to always be in court.
Right.
Like I want to actually never be in court.
Exactly. That is the end objective, and this is what I spit onto another analogy. Yeah. So
I love mixed analogies.
yeah, so what you want? I'll go to the electric car scenario. Okay, right. So you need to get to your journey, but you know that you're gonna have to refuel regular, and you want to make sure that refueling process is the most streamlined activity that you have to do. So the scenario you mentioned before, you know, before it's optimized, you know, you have to go to what you'd have to do, you'd have to drive your car along, you know, you go and plug it into a standard plug. It's going to take you 12 hours to recharge your car because you're using a sub-optimized process and you haven't got all the facilities that make it very quick recharge capability. So you take that the full other way around. Is what you want to get to is that recharge thing. Is the CEO is, by the way, need a bit more cash. You know all that stuff coming through earlier. It was all great. You know, made a load of money. You got your bonus. Can have some more. Yeah, no worries. Come. So you just get that money through your cost center via an email. That is the data oasis. You know, we've been living in data mirages for too long. You know, that end game is you know, it's the oasis that does exist.
Wait, to quote you, data oasis, get money by email. Tim, this is another T-shirt.
Yes, please.
I put data oasis.
Get money by email.
Get money by email.
And on the back, data mirage. Go to court for 3 weeks.
This, you know. Okay, we need to get to the T-shirt business with all this stuff.
Yes.
By the way, I do have one of the Honest BS T-shirts. I got given it earlier, but there was no changing facility, so I saved the surrounding area, not having to have to change.
I'm now curious. Where else are we going to take? Now we're talking about garages and
Yeah.
Where else is this going?
Tell me about the data desert.
The data desert. Okay. Well, that's a very, very dry and long walk, and very hot and unenjoyable.
Okay, so I mean, another topic here, given what you presented earlier today.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about data products?
Yeah. I think it does lead into this ways of working or achieving.
By the way, what is the data product with respect to the court?
Okay. Well, in fact, we're on the fly today. That's not something I even thought of. So, I think in that core analogy is your business case you're putting forward is to go and deliver that data product. So it is a project in that case, and your project needs to provide associated value, business value. So otherwise, why are you signing off a project? So I think if you use that word project could be an enhancement to a product, or it could be a product on its own. And let's try and unpack the word product, because I'm part of it. There's many groups I'm part of that are discussing this, and that there is that purist end of the spectrum, and there is a pragmatic view as well. And and if I was to probably go for that, maybe a purist view, and maybe I'm guilty of this myself, and it's a product isn't a product until it's a SKU. It has a SKU. It's in your PIM.
That's the pragmatic. No.
I think that's a purist.
Purist.
I think that's using product in its true sense. I don't think when we talk about data products, normally we're talking about that. Okay, it could be you're selling that data if you're the Nielsen's or Experian of the world. It is the SKU. You go and buy it. I want this data set. Or it's at the marketplace.
Yeah, we like to call this like data products have boundaries. Like it's a thing, right?
Yeah. So you're right. I like that. It's a thing. So taking it as a truest form of product has a SKU, and then a data product. I don't think when we're talking about it normally, we're talking about is a line item on an invoice. What we're talking about is it is something that provides business value. It's something that solves a problem. MIT have got. I mean, I'll take this slightly to monetization, and if anyone's watched the show earlier and listened to this, you're going to hear me repeat myself. I'm sorry. It maps to MIT have coined the terms wrap, sell, and improve, and when sales very easy, and it is that SKU scenario. Okay, that scenario is you're selling your data, you get an invoice for that data, you get money for that data, and then improve. It is all about that business process optimization. So you're improving and becoming more efficient. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So you need to have that business process that is actually that you're measuring against. And then the last one is the wrap, which is not quite so obvious first of all. And a wrap is a symbiotic capability you're giving to maybe a core product that makes it stickier or more user friendly, or maybe you could charge a bit more for that additional feature on it. But it's I probably have, everyone has apps on their phones, they're banking that, and you'll see that they'll probably have maybe an FX rate conversion on it, or have a little calculator for this. They're not making money from that, but they want to keep you on the app or the platform you're on. So they're trying to make it sticky, but make it sticky in a nice way, that it's you like using it. And again, in the book, we've got this analogy of there's many sticky products out there. They're sticky for the wrong reasons. They're sticky because they're so hard to move away from, or you're locked in with a licensing agreement. They're sticky. That I refer to this is that I much prefer the scenario that I'm in a deluxe like holiday resort, and I don't want to go because it's so great, rather than to have Stockholm syndrome and actually be held captive by my vendor and having to enjoy it. I have no other option of being here. So each of those things can be seen as a product. And anything that is providing a tangible, evidentable value, and that business value, as we've defined it now, it doesn't have to be directly attributed to your bottom line. It could be carbon footprint, zero emissions, or activities.
Right. Yeah. Did you see like Apple's latest commercial around the sustainability, and they're like that type of stuff? It's like we were talking earlier. It's like that may be a goal, but I can't say that that's providing that's profit or anything. But time goes on, and like now I can say, if we don't do this, we're going to lose money. But actually, you don't know how much.
Exactly.
Apple's probably one of the best at this. I mean, with privacy as well, they were one of the first companies to be much more on like, all your information is going to be private.
Yeah, but they did that
like
too.
How much
Google
of it? How much? And how much of that was like purely turning into profit versus a longer term investment?
Yeah.
So one last topic I think we want to unpack with you is is around return on investment.
Yeah.
We talked about business value, talked about data products, rapid sell it. Is the ROI equation a simple one, or is it more complicated one?
I think it is a complicated one.
Yeah.
And I think this is why I've moved away from using the term ROI to describe business value.
So you don't like that term too much in this context?
No, I think, yes, in some I think maybe not in the larger scale. In some small use cases, it is not a bad, but I think it's overused because it's never evidenced. So it'll tell you, okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
So you'll say, okay, and you see it here. If you walk around the stand here, you'll say it'll make your teams 20 times more efficient. Okay, you're going to get 20 times ROI out of the same team. Are we? Where's your evidence? And I don't want to see some white paper you've got some company to go and say.
Well, the typical thing there is we save you X amount of hours, how many people you get the salary, but it's all kind of theoretical.
So I think it is too theoretical, and so going back the business, you are then asking the right questions of how does it affect my business performance, and return on investment looked on its own. It's nothing. It needs to be linked to your business strategy, your business vision, and that is the top level. Everything needs to hang off that. If it isn't aligned to why are you doing it? Why have you built a dashboard for it? Why have you built a pipeline for it? It's now an overhead that no one's looking at. And I had another concept, KPIs. So there's so many KPIs out there. Who's actually tracking the KPIs of these KPIs to see how valuable they are, or how used they are?
That's the meta.
Yeah. It's I don't know how far we're going to take this in the KPI. I don't go that far, but it is. It's what are we? How are we assessing the usage of this? How are we looking at? I think on the show earlier, I think we were talking about is that you need to deprecate stuff. We have stuff, and I think a product mentality. Products go into life. Products expire. But we've all seen our data landscapes. There's a lot of stuff that's just left around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we haven't looked at it and packaged it up. We haven't removed that code when it's no longer needed.
Well, sometimes we're missing the metadata picture around that, right? I sense that a lot of companies they're afraid to get rid of dashboards or KPIs or transformations because they're like, we don't know what that's going to affect, and we don't really want to. We don't have time to do the work right now.
If you had a good observability product or monitoring product that understood the usage of it, usage.
Because then you got to connect it to the people.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, this is all centered around people. If people are not fucking using this shit, then why are we actually doing it?
Exactly. I don't like the word observability too much because it's
honest, no BS take.
Yeah.
Please open up.
Okay. And the reason why is because if I go and speak to 5 different vendors, they're all going to review what it is. And I like the term monitoring, and monitoring has a number of levels. If you capture every single level, I think then that is your observability capability. But I think what you have out there is a lot of monitoring products that are monitoring different bits that are all calling themselves observability.
So what are those bits that you can be monitoring?
So I think there's 6 levels. So I think that the first level is your application performance monitoring. So your APMs, your Datadogs, and New Relic of the world. It's it may not be relevant to all data platforms, depending on what you've got. And I think the next level is your SaaS products. So you're going to have your software as a services. It's looking at how they're used, how they're performing. And I think the next level after that is the next one is connectivity. I think that's basically the movement of data between each of those locations. So does it actually does it fail at one point? And otherwise, it's content. So content is what's been moved from one level, so you're not losing losing rows or losing data. And the next one is, I think, quality. And the quality comes in 2 types. You've got quality ingest and you've got quality over time, degradation. You got that over time, data drift. It's getting worse over time. It was all right to have the odd null now and then.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting 90% nulls. The algorithm I trained before that only had 10% nulls is now worthless because it's going to be the wrong answer and actually probably is costing me money because it's making incorrect decisions.
And quality injustice, quality as part of the transformation
Yeah, it's
process.
so you can only, so some things you can check when they come in, and for example, ranges or not. But over time, you can look at deviations in distinct values between things. So you only have 3,000 customers, but then suddenly it goes up to 9,000.
Okay, so let's connect all of this because I was actually surprised we got into this observability.
I don't know,
which is interesting.
Yeah.
So connect it back to business value. Like, should we be observing everything? And
No. I think So I think there's the right path of what you need to observe at different points that will enable you to make the right decisions. And I think what's relevant was the last level I mentioned, which is the usage, who, why, and how they're using it. So you go back to that, KPIs, like little side one we went on to, is if you're knowing who's using it, when they're using it, you know whether you can start deprecating it. And then if you actually go to people that are using it, would this be better? Let me deprecate these things because I've got something better that you may not have known existed. If you had a good catalog out there that would be able to show like the knowledge of how it's connected, maybe you say, you're getting this data from the same place. There's also another dashboard that has all these other metrics on you didn't even know about. It's, hell yeah, I want that one. That one's so good to me now.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen scoping up and sizing migrations, and it costs a lot. And if you've got 4,000 reports, isn't it better to go and have some monitoring observability capabilities that are looking at the usage part to remove how much stuff you're going to migrate? Because the cost in putting in that monitoring of that metadata is going to be a lot less than migrating figures and reports you've never used.
woo! We've gone through so much.
I know.
And you know what? I finished my beer. You're about Tim. You're really behind.
I'm behind, but I'm taking great notes.
Yeah.
We're taking
I
notes.
promise.
He's taking more notes. All
I've
right.
got 1 hour till another 2 hour.
Yeah, we gotta go. All right, let's head to our AI minute. So you got 1 minute to rant about AI. Go.
Hallucinations are great.
Expand.
Well,
You still got.
so the reason why they're good is because it gives us storytelling. It does fill in the gaps. So knowing when to use hallucinations in AI and when not to. You don't want to hallucinate about things that are on mission critical, but you may want to use it to actually create a story that then you can go and use in your court of law that then can go and get you the sign-off you need.
Beautiful way of closing this
Yeah.
out and connected it back to the court of law. Actually, I agree with you very much on like hallucinations. That you want about ideation, creativity is perfect for it.
Yep.
And my rule of thumb is if it sounds like a fact, then you gotta go check it out.
Exactly.
So that's it. All right, lightning round questions. Woo!
Oh wow.
Tim, all right. Quick questions. We'll see. Number one, do data people sufficiently know what data value means for the organization?
No.
All right. Great. All right. Number 2, you mentioned that the data and chief data officer might lead us down a certain path, maybe a technical path.
Yeah.
Should it be different? And secondary question, are you a fan of CDAO?
Yes, I am a fan of CDAO. I think one can't operate without the other. The more control we put over an individual, and if it means that it's going to prevent another role proliferation, we've got both of them in an organisation, which means it's less likely you're going to achieve the outcome desired or desired outcome. No, it's probably good to combine them. And I think that leads back to the product thing quite well, is because the data and the analytics part is the product.
How about a chief data product officer?
That's not bad. I like that. I like that as well. Yeah. Yeah. CDPO.
Yeah.
It does sound like a Star Wars.
C3PO.
All right, next question. Is the data team going to play a key role to drive business value around
100%.
AI?
Around AI. Yeah, 100%. I think one good thing that's come out of this generative AI boom, hype, or whatever you want to call it, is it's rubbish shit without good data. And the only way of getting good data is good data management capabilities, good data quality capabilities, good cataloging capabilities, good data governance in general. Without any of those things, you're not going to be able to have a successful AI implementation.
Tim, you got a final one.
Final question. Can every company benefit from a data product approach?
I think so. I think so. I think it's an educational piece, and I think that I like to use the term the art of the possible, and it goes back to what I talked earlier. Is that the business don't know what data team do. The data team's role is to demonstrate what the art of the possible is, for them to say that's the value. I mean, don't ask what your data can do for you. Ask what you can do with your data.
Don't ask what your data can do for you.
Yeah, ask what you. No, other way around. Don't ask what you can do for your data. Ask what your data can do for you.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Tim.
No.
Takeaway times.
Your
Take us
data
away
can
with the
do for you.
takeaways.
All right, takeaways. Hey, there's a laptop over here. Hey, everybody.
I got my iPad over here too.
So, great conversation. Key takeaway started off with honest, no BS. What is business value? And you said that you've been iterating on this a lot. As an aside, I'm curious about some of the previous iterations. How you decided that something wasn't quite right, but you've got some very specific words here: evidenceable.
Yep.
Positive.
Yep.
Impact.
Yep.
On your company performance.
Yep.
And it's not always going to be profit, was a key thing you mentioned,
Exactly.
right? And it depends on kind of what mode you're in.
Yep.
A couple of different modes that you mentioned, including a hybrid kind of option. First option of a mode that your business might be in was fiscal mode, trying to save some money on the budget. This is a situation where maybe quick wins are more important. Maybe cost savings is a little bit more of a focus. Maybe it's just really, A plus B equals C kind of quick math, right? And you focused on, I think, a very useful definition. You said friction. Friction is the time, complexity, and effort to do something. And when you have friction, you're going to have drop-offs in whatever funnel for whatever business process that you might be looking at. And these drop-offs are things that if you can address them, if you can optimize them, that's stuff that can affect this fiscal year, which is kind of, I think, how you were thinking about the fiscal mode. And you said, this really then links to business processes. You can't measure friction if you don't have a clear understanding of your business processes. And we all don't do that enough well. You mentioned I've never seen anyone maintain their business process models beyond sort of the initial event that maybe triggered them documenting it. So it's very important for you to do a better job of documenting those critical business workflows. You also talked about metadata being critical because it represents how the business works, and you can improve the operational efficiency by focusing on it, and also the criticality of metadata, the data about the metadata, which is also important. And then you mentioned the second mode, which is growth mode.
We did cover a lot, didn't we?
We did. And you mentioned a lot of the vendors that are here at the conference, and a lot of them are in growth mode, where it's not necessarily about, hey, let's get profitable. It's, hey, here's a bunch of money, here's a bunch of investment. Like, get competitive differentiation, get market share, get number of customers. And that's important too. And even like building a data capability sometimes can be more of a growth mode consideration because of how much investment it requires. But probably the majority of companies are really in this hybrid mode, which is hey, you're trying to get these quick wins so that you can invest in that growth, and you're trying to sort of take the savings to invest in your growth, keep your stakeholders on the journey. Make sure you get those quick wins so you can satisfy the fiscal needs while also progressing the growth needs. And then finally, before I pass it to Juan, you had a great analogy around the legal system. You're doing this legal case. You need evidence to back up your arguments. You're moving your way up through the court system, and eventually you get to the final judge. That's the CEO, right? And you have to get kind of good at this process. Small cases or other precedent or other credibility that you build, that's going to help you to be able to make your arguments better and to move up that system more effectively. Who's the best lawyer? Well, maybe it's the CDO. Maybe that's actually the person who should be really driving this. And the data team is not the paralegals. They're deeply involved.
I think it's the CDO
the CDO is your lawyer. Juan, what about you?
Well, first of all, the business doesn't understand what the data teams do. And this is a big problem because if you ask HR, what do you do? Sales, what do you? Marketing, what do you do? Very clear answer, very clear, crisp answer. We don't have that for the data teams. Your answer to that is they are in service to help other groups improve their business performance. Using data, right? Using data. But there's like all this confusion when you think about the CDO, the CTO, the CIO, and the whole reporting. It's really hard to have a very clean, have the clear structure. You really need to go map this out. It's very key to really understand how that works in your organization. But so the other issue there is that you realize that we're probably setting up for failure. A lot of these CDOs. CDO, you have this massive agenda, but you're not giving them the people and the budget. I mean, they're not going to be successful, and that's why they may leave in 18 months. There's a lack of accountability around this stuff. Now, what role does the data team play for business value? Going back to the analogy of the legal system, the lawyer is a representative of the data team, which is going to be the CDO. The rest of the team are doing all that background work to be able to kind of provide all that strong work that's needed to provide the business value. Also think about expert witnesses. You need external folks who are needed to show the expertise outside to guarantee that it work. Like maybe it's even consultants to go do that. But taking this this analogy further, you don't always want to be in a court. At the end of the day, it's like a journey. So we're switching now to a car EV journey. Like, well, if you need to get to a destination, you need to plan it out. So you need to plan out that journey. So it's like a data oasis is just getting money by email, and the data mirage is you go to court for 3 weeks or more around that. We jumped into data products, and I like it's the case that you're making in that whole legal analogy, right? You're putting this forward to accomplish. Think about it's a project too. Like it's the product itself is a product or an enhancement to an existing product. You can think about it from a purist point of view. It's a product in its true sense. It has a SKU. It has boundaries to the thing. But the other way of seeing it is like it just solves a problem. It provides that business value. And you're taking this kind of approach from MIT, the sell, improve, wrap. So selling, I mean, make the definition says right. You're selling, making money there. You're improving. So you're taking a business process. You're understanding that you need to be able to make that better. So that means that you need to have a way of measuring where you are today, so you can improve that. You know what you're improving. You can measure that improvement. And a wrapping is that you take the product that exists, just kind of make it stickier, make it more user friendly. Then on ROI, like it is complicated about this whole ROI, and small use case is probably okay, but the issue about ROI is that it's overused because it's not evidence. And I really, really like that. And at the end of the day, this all has to be linked to your business strategy and your business vision. If it doesn't align to the why, then it's an overhead that no one is looking at. It's like this extra tax that people have no freaking idea why they're paying it, right? Who is tracking the KPIs of the KPIs? Like we're now in the meta space around here, and that's why it's critical to understand the usage of these data assets and data products. And we wrapped up talking about the usage about observability, a word that you do not like because if you talk to 5 different vendors, you get 5 different definitions. You prefer monitoring. There's 6 levels we talked about. Application performance monitoring, like the Datadogs, the New Relics, SaaS products, connectivity, what the moving is, if the moving is working, the content, what has been moved, the quality and ingest, and in overtime if there's data drift, and the usage around it, right? How did we do?
We did well. I mean,
I'm
surprised. No, I think you've written up better than I could have. I might ask your notes so I can check them out later.
Or you could just take the transcript of this and play the GPT.
Yeah.
All right, wrap up because we need more beer and we got more stuff to do here. All right, quickly, what's your advice about data, about life? Second, who should we invite next? And third, what are the resources you follow?
Right. So my advice, I think, suppose anyone listening on their data career, don't do a job you don't like. That do it because you're learning something new, you're adding value, or you're learning a new domain. After that, you're working. They're getting more out of you than you're getting out of them. Who to invite next? I'd have to have my data value wingman, as I call him, Matt Housley. So he's me and him are working together on this book that was coined the High Performance Data Playbook. When a lot of this stuff we're unpacking what business value is and how you can achieve it.
And finally, what resources do you follow? People, LinkedIn,
obviously yourself, Juan, and this show. I mean, Joe does some great stuff. I mean, obviously he's got his nerdy rants, he's got the Money Bought in Data chat. There's a lot of, I mean, Ben Rojan's great in a lot of his stuff he puts out there, and if you're an engineer, you won't find any better stuff on YouTube for that. Many people. I think the good thing is don't just focus on a few. Have the more different views you can take on, the more you can shape them into your own. Don't just live into one vendor or one individual. Have a selection that maybe give them different perspectives on things. Definitely have some business folks in there, because we do always go down into technical weeds.
And that's good advice. Yeah, I think sometimes it's easy to listen to maybe only data podcasts. Yeah. Expose yourself to some other disciplines, business, etc. Yeah.
And with that, I'm done. You're done.
Great show, guys. Great show.
Cheers.
Cheers.